Hello and welcome to Kempinar Gaming. I'm going to give you a pre-warning right now. The matches, the first two matches you're going to see, I did not play well with them. Be kind to me. I'm not a serious gamer. I just do it in my free time, and I enjoy it. I've been playing Call of Duty for a long time. So, I used to be much worse. Keep that in mind. There are also a couple of things that I want to talk about that, sometimes I just sit and think about. So, I'm going to be talking about them while you watch some of my gameplay.
Team deathmatch. We've got enemy inbound. Lock and load.
Now, just to head this off, I love quick scoping. I was terrible at it when the original Modern Warfare 2 came out, and I'm still not that great at it, but it is definitely my favorite way to play. Moving on, something that I've been thinking about, and I spend a lot of time watching review videos by people like Linus Tech Tips and Gamer Nexus, and a lot of the larger guys, and I'm noticing a bit of a trend with the new GPUs that have come out. Essentially, 4000 series cards, there's only really two that make any sense. So, my personal gaming rig is a RTX 4090 with a Ryzen 7 7800X 3D, 32 gigabytes of 6400 megahertz DDR5 RAM, which basically is top of the line as far as gaming goes. I mean, realistically, you could jump up to a Ryzen 9 7950 X3D, but at the end of the day, it performs the exact same as a 7800 X3D because the 3D V-cache is only on one of the chiplets, so it actually disables the second chiplet when you're playing video games. Kind of interesting. Anyway, so the only two cards that really make any sense is the 4060 Ti, which is essentially, the main card that most consumers are going to buy, because nobody's going to go out and dish. Well, most people, I shouldn't say no one. Most people aren't going to go out and dish out, $2,100 Canadian or $1,600 American for an RTX 4090. And the RTX 4080, I mean, it does perform about 40% better than the RTX 3090 Ti of last generation. Or, no, I believe it's only the 3090, not the 3090 Ti. And at the price jump, if you've already got a 3090, chances are you aren't going to be looking at a 4080. And if you do have a 3090, realistically, there's no real point to upgrade. I mean, people who bought those cards are really looking at 1440p gaming, and a 4080 is still very GPU bound at 1440p. Sorry, not GPU bound, CPU bound. I don't have a script, so I'm just kind of going off of what I'm thinking about here. Anyway, the other card that only makes sense for a very select few is the RTX 4090, and that's just because it's the highest performing card out there. But the real kick in the butt is that with upscaling, I mean, I play at 4K. My monitor's only 60 frames per second because, I mean, if you want to have a good laugh, go look at 4K 120 hertz monitors and then find a card that can actually push that. My secondary monitor is a 75-inch TV. That's 120 hertz. Oh yeah, also, you can see I lost there. Let me preface this match This is the worst match I've had in days. Yeah, real good start. I really enjoyed that. But hey, I got my revenge. So anyway, the RTX 4090. Yeah, great start. Loving this. Alright, back to it. The RTX 4090 is so over the top, but yet with upscaling and DLSS, and everybody was kind of laughing because originally when NVIDIA had released the RTX 4070 Ti, they had kind of made a comment that you can get 4090 performance using DLSS and frame generation. Now, personally, I have not used frame generation at all. I don't really see a point to it. I get that it smooths it out, but it's interpolated frames. I'm not really that worried about frame rate, especially considering that the only game that I've been playing that doesn't always hit 60 frames per second, which is what my monitor supports, is Starfield, which we'll get into in a little bit. But frame generation doesn't do anything at 60 frames per second. And I mean, with an RTX 4090, there's just no point. So anyway, 4070 Ti, DLSS 3.0, no frame generation. You can still get the same frame rates as an RTX 4090. The reason why that's relevant is because I challenge anyone to play a game on an RTX 4070 Ti with the LSS and then play the same game on a 4090 without the DLSS and tell me if you can see a difference. The only reason I bring that up, I learned from that last bouncing buddy, is because my previous computer before I got the RTX 4090 was a RX 6950 XT. Now, I do not know what settings I had Call of Duty on when I was playing it, but I was getting the same frame rates that I'm getting with my 4090. And I see no difference in the quality. So my point is, with DLSS and FSR, you don't need this crazy high horsepower in order to play at 4K. So why does the 4060 Ti make more sense? Well, most panels that are 4K and a high refresh rate are not affordable. So, and most gamers on PC are interested in high refresh rate, which means that they're all defaulting to 1440p because the panels are just way more affordable. Now, I shouldn't say all, because I'm sure there are some outliers. There's obviously somebody buying these panels because they are out there and they're crazy expensive. But if you're only playing at 1440p, looking for high refresh rates, why spend all the money for a 4070 Ti, even a 4070, when the 4070 performs relatively similar? My apologies, my wife interrupted me there and now I've lost my train of thought. Talking about the 4070 Ti and the 4070. So, the 4070 Ti performs very similar to the 3090 of the last generation, but you still get frame generation and you get DLSS 3. Again, I don't think that frame generation is something that anybody should really consider, because realistically it's not doing anything for you. It's not increasing latencies or decreasing frame latencies. It's just making the image look smoother, but at the same time, with the technology, you're actually losing frame times. So you're increasing your latency because your GPU is spending a little bit of time extrapolating those frames. So, but I mean, if you had a 20 series card and you always wanted a 3090 and you wanted to go out and buy a 3090, but you couldn't justify the ridiculous price point on them, okay, 4070 Ti makes sense. But why did you want the 3090 in the first place? Again, the 4090 will play 4K, 60 frames per... Oh, I had to just get a picture of this person's gamer tag. Turdy Stabby McStab Stab. Nope. Stabby McStab. Turdy Stabby McStab. Love it. That is so ridiculous. And of course I don't have the full version of my editor. So don't judge me. Anyway. This match coming up, I don't suck as bad. So, the 4060 Ti performs great, 1440p. You can play your visual safaris, getting 60 frames per second. I mean, typically, games where you actually want good graphics, you don't really care about high frame rate because you're enjoying the view. You're not, trying to be competitive. And then the games that you are trying to be competitive, like Call of Duty, Modern Warfare, Fortnite, Apex Legends, Warzone, esports titles, they're typically easier to run on the GPU anyway. Now, that also brings me to something else that I've kind of wanted to address, which is Starfield. And everybody complaining that Starfield is not well optimized. Now, I will say this. Starfield does not perform well on lower-end CPUs. Older 4-core 8 threads, even newer 4-core 8 threads, it does require the settings, the visual settings, to be turned down a lot. And there's a reason for that. I mean, there is a lot of post-processing in the game. But in order for a game to be well optimized, it means that a game should perform well across different levels of hardware.
Enemy personal radar online.
When you're playing a visual safari like Starfield, you're not looking for 4K 120 frames per second. So, I have what I consider to be the best graphics card on the market right now. Although AMD does seem to run a lot better on Starfield, I will very much acknowledge that. At 4K max settings with no upscaling whatsoever, I'm getting 4K 60 frames per second. Is that not the maximum settings, the maximum refresh rate, the maximum card? Meaning that every step below that, you would expect to have to turn down graphics settings. I don't know, just food for thought. I've also come to the conclusion with this Call of Duty game that snipers are for close combat. It is so easy to quickscope in close areas. It's ridiculous. And I shot him in the booty. Now, another thing that I kind of want to bring up is the X3D processors, which kind of make me laugh because they're in the 7th generation of well, it's not the 7th generation, 7000 series Ryzen CPUs. There's 3 X3D SKUs. There's the 7800, the 7900, and then the 7950, all of them X3Ds. The 7900 actually performs worse than the 7800 in games, and that's because in the 7900 and the 7950 X3D, they have 2 chipsets, and the 3D V cache is only on 1 chipset. So when you're playing video games, it disables the second chipset that doesn't have the 3D cache.
Good work. You've earned
Well,
your paycheck.
that is the end of the video. I'll have to expand on that on the next game.